We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
For a long time I've been wanting to do a video about Hollywood itself. I never felt compelled to talk about it because most people know it's a sham, which you see on motion pictures and things about how the industry of making motion pictures has gone down the toilet since about the early 2000s. And then you saw the sham about how blacks felt they weren't being given the same opportunity for Academy Awards and nominations for Oscars and you name it. And so basically they took over the whole process, and now it's a total sham, because now the only people they consider allowed to have nominations are blacks. The whites themselves are very rarely ever mentioned. And so I wanted to do this video primarily first to say the question, was there ever a time that Hollywood was known as Hollywood Land? I found a photograph from a documentary about the early days of Hollywood, and it has a shot of the sign with land at the end of it. Now maybe somebody manipulated and put it into the picture, but I've never seen photographs of Hollywood as far as the sign that's on top of that mountain or hill with land at the end. And so when I thought about Hollywood as a great place, I thought about the time I went with somebody. They were living in California and they took me out to see the Chinese theater. We went down the Hollywood Walk of Fame, or the Sidewalk of Fame, whatever it is. And the more I looked at this place, the more I saw how it had really deteriorated as far as the credibility of what happens in Hollywood in the years since really the heyday, and that was up until about the late 1980s to early 90s. That's when really good movies were starting to phase out. And you've got really dying Hollywood actors like Clint Eastwood, and you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger and some few other people who really were a part of Hollywood at the time when movies were made good. And now you see how the blacks have taken it over and totally made a sham and a total mess of the whole thing, because they feel they're entitled to retribution. They're entitled to be more recognized for their accomplishments than anybody else. And I'm going to give you an example. Hollywood itself has deteriorated and become such a total joke. You're seeing more and more motion picture companies, small motion picture companies, they're moving out to the southeastern United States because first, the assumption is they're getting more tax credits to make motion pictures in other areas of the country. Well, I don't think it's that in itself. I think it's because the industry sees how the more they give in to the black attitude that they're more superior, they're better than everybody else, the more it destroys the whole industry. And the more you see what they do at the Academy Awards, and you see them doing the Peabody Awards and all these other things that used to be so high glitz, they used to be so imperative for people. They felt like this is the most important thing about Hollywood. When we recognize the actors and the actresses who deserve credit for the things they've done, and then they turn it around and make it a big circus where they say, well, blacks haven't been given the same opportunity, Latinos haven't been given the opportunity, the homosexual community hasn't been recognized as being as important or more important than any other race or any other particular sexual orientation. When you start doing these things, you're not giving equality to people, you're turning off individuals to the idea that if everybody are equal, why are you singling out certain groups and saying that they deserve more recognition than somebody else? Hollywood's been doing that ever since the blacks started to get this voice within the Black Lives Matter groups, within the groups like the radical feminists. Folks, there's one group who's behind all of these things that's been giving these individuals power, recognition, strength, whatever you call it. That's the Communist Party, that's the Socialist Party. The Socialists give financial help to all of these radical type ideals through Black Lives Matter, through radical feminism, through homosexual forced acceptance of their lifestyles, of their agenda, and it's all centered around the Illuminati itself, and that's the globalists. Those are the individuals who are controlling the country. They're the ones that are dividing us and tearing us apart as individual Americans, because they say we have to give recognition to everybody, even if it's immoral, even if it's unethical the way they live or how how they think they've seen themselves. See, blacks, for the last 50 years, blacks started graffiti. They started every kind of destructive attitude in this country about how people hated the cops, how they hated society because they felt they were being restricted, they were being torn down in terms of their culture, their lifestyle, their history. And I saw this growing up in the 70s, where every place I went, I saw this total empathy of hate towards everything that was white. And you saw the blacks who were working in these places, especially restaurants, they were tearing them down, letting them go to pot. They weren't working the places where they were being safe for people to come there to eat. They were shut down for health violations, you name it. And it's that mentality that has progressed to the point now in our nation where you have groups of communists and socialists who want to destroy this country's foundations and its roots, and use the ideal that they've been restricted, they've been subjugated, they've been this, that, and they're using it against us as Americans. They're using that philosophy against us to say, we have a right to tear down this country because we've always felt we were being restricted as American citizens. And you see, blacks use the attitude that there is hatred by whites because they themselves see themselves as being devalued because their ancestors were slaves. And the socialists and the communists are using that against the whole structure of our country, against the legislative, against the judicial and the executive branches. And it all really started 4 years ago on the day that President Trump took the inauguration. He took the oath of office to defend, to uphold the Constitution. And if you look at the Communist Party, of the Socialist Democrats, not one of them has ever done anything to take those vows seriously. Neither has the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, folks, is supposed to be the highest recognized court in the United States. They give more rights to an illegal immigrant who is not a citizen, who does not pay into our government structure. They give them free money, they give them health care, they give them every kind of benefit at your expense as a citizen because you pay taxes. And they're supposed to uphold the Constitution, and everything that they do, everything is supposed to entirely be based on what the Constitution says, which is Americans are free because they do what's right and because they're American citizens. It doesn't say in the Constitution an illegal immigrant who comes here across the border, who does everything they can to get across into this country to use the system. It doesn't say in the Constitution they're more entitled to those benefits. Number one, because they aren't citizens. Number two, they don't pay into the system. Number three, the Constitution has a structure which says if you follow the law and you follow the rules and you become an American citizen, then you're entitled to those things. The communists and the socialists are saying, oh no, that's not what the Constitution says. That's what the lawyers are saying. That's what the ACLU says. Oh no, you're out of touch with reality. That's not what the Constitution says. That's because they're changing it. They're changing what it actually says. Nobody reads it verbatim from the Constitution, what it says, what it's supposed to be. And so because of that philosophy, because of that idiocy, that denial of what the Constitution says, they justify the protests. They justify the looting, the murder of these individuals in sanctuary cities. All of that stuff, folks, it was permeated and started in 2009 when Barack Obama became the first dictator of America, when he said, my change that you're going to accept and believe in is socialism. People say, oh no, he wasn't a socialist. You're out of touch with reality if you think Obama did anything to help this country. People now are starting to wake up and they're seeing what Obama did for 8 years. The guy loved Juan Chavez from Venezuela. Venezuela is a bankrupt nation because of one reason. They adhere to communism. Look at the Amazon commercials right now. You see what they're saying? We're going to make a green carbon footprint in the next 10 years. We're going to order 500,000 electric cars. And when I heard them say electric cars, I thought, Venezuela. That's what Chavez mandated. He made every person in Venezuela buy an electric car. And then you say socialism and communism is not in America? That's what Obama kept pushing during the 8 years he was president. He said, I'm going to make everybody buy an electric car and I'm going to get rid of the combustion engine. You know why? Because he idolized Juan Valdez, or Chavez, the president of Venezuela. He said, I adhere to his philosophies. I love this guy. I worship him. And that's why he went to Venezuela as many times as Obama could to help them, because he's a communist himself. Now you're going to say, how did we get from Hollywood to what's going on in our country? Because it all ties together. Hollywood at one time was the best place in the world to live your American dream, to be what you wanted to be. And now you've got it totally twisted around, and now they're only saying, well, some people have the intention to have a good life, and we're going to give it to the blacks, we're going to give it to the homosexual, we're going to give it to whoever we think deserves it. Does that sound like somebody who was talking as president of this country from 2009 until 2016? Obama said, I'm going to choose who gets what. It's going to be my decision. Why? Because it's my government, it's my choice. And what are they doing now? They're tearing down President Trump, and he's saying the total opposite. You know what he's saying? I believe in free enterprise. I believe in capitalism. I believe people can live their dreams. And the communists, the socialist Democrats are saying, oh no, we don't want that. We want to live the way Obama kept saying we should live. And that's the idiocy of our country today. That's why we're all divided. That's why people even think that a senile 80-year-old fart like Joe Biden could do anything to help this country. Joe Biden is Obama. And if you put Biden in there, folks, your Constitution, your rights are going to be flushed right into the toilet. And that's what Obama started for 8 solid years, to flush everything about our Bill of Rights, about our Constitution, about our liberties and our freedoms. And the first thing they're going to do, folks, is they're going to destroy the Second Amendment. And that means you can't protect yourself anymore with a gun. And when Biden sits there on national television and says, do I look like a communist? Do I look like a socialist? I'm like, it ain't about what you look like, Biden. It's about what goes on in here. It's not about what you look like. It's about what you believe. And that's what people don't see. They don't want to see. They don't want to look at what Obama did. They just want to see the fact that he was a black and that he was president. And that's all they care about. Hollywood, folks, is a sham today because the Communist Party is saying, We're going to waste that system because that is the biggest part of America's financial nest egg. We're going to make a total mess of it. And then once it's done, there ain't nothing left. And then we can just totally crumble everything else. And I've said this in other videos, I'm going to say it again. The Communist Party are taking the same mentality that the Japanese did after the end of the Second World War. We nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki with 2 atomic bombs, and the Japanese said, if we ever destroy America anytime in the future, it's going to be from within their own country. That's what the Japanese said. The communists have taken that and they've used it against us. They're using our own system against us. They're using everything the Constitution is supposed to use in its foundations to protect us as American citizens, and they're turning it totally upside down. They're saying those rights to belong to those who aren't citizens of this country, who aren't entitled to those benefits. That's the idiocy, that's the total stupidity of communism. That's the total stupidity of socialism, and Obama is a socialist. I don't care what you think, I don't care what you believe. Jimmy Fallon laughed it off every single day after President Trump was elected. He put him down, he laughed at him, he made fun of him, he trashed him. I say, Jimmy Fallon, you ought to be in jail for being a traitor to this country, because when you don't stand for our president, I don't care what you think about him, if you don't support our country, if you don't support our freedoms and our rights, get out of this country. Go somewhere like Cuba, go to Russia, go to Venezuela, get out of this country, because that's where you belong. You belong to live in China, you belong to live in Russia. That's communism. Full force right there in front of you. That's communism. If you laugh at President Trump, you're saying, we don't want freedom. We want communism. We want to be like Russia. We want to be like China. We want to be like Cuba. I say, Jimmy Fallon, get out of America. Just like they've been saying on the pulpit. We don't need the United Nations, because the United Nations is a part of the globalist world order system. They are the Illuminati. They're part of it. And that's why the motto has always been, get America out of the UN and the UN out of America. And today, the country is at the brink of a civil war, folks, because the communists are giving all of this strength and this power to this idiotic attitude that black supremacy and having no tolerance for other people is the only way somehow that it's all going to become happy, go-lucky, everybody's going to be happy, everybody's going to be the same. That's what communism teaches people. If you have nothing, you're equal. That's the stupidity of Obama. That's what he kept saying to everybody. You're going to live the way I tell you to, because this is the way it's going to be. That's it. No questions asked. And that's why everything in this country is a total mess. Because of communism, because of socialism, because of Barack Obama, because of Hillary Clinton, because of Nancy Pelosi. I say every one of these people should be charged for treason, conspiracy to overthrow the United States government and us as American citizens, treason, collusion, obstruction of justice. They're saying those things 2 or 3 years ago about the Confederacy. Oh, they were traitors. They did this, this. It's like, your whole mentality is upside down, mister. You ought to be looking at who are the real traitors in this country. The people who are traitors are the ones trying to destroy you. They're trying to destroy who you are as an American citizen. Those are the traitors, not the individual people who fought for what they believed in during the Civil War. It was not about slavery. That's what the blacks use as an excuse now. Oh, yeah, it was about ending slavery. It was not about ending slavery. It's the North trying to laugh off the Confederates and saying, y'all are idiots, y'all don't know how to live, y'all live too good, you live whatever. That's why they attacked the South. It was not about slavery. I don't care what any black says, it was not about slavery. Now the Civil War that's coming is going to be between a white and a black, and the black saying, we're superior to you, and you aren't entitled to nothing. That's what it's going to be about.
مرحبا، اسمي عمران دقنيش. كان عمري 3 سنين ونص لما ضربوا الغارات الجوية الروسية على حلب. أكيد شفتوني هديك الليلة في سيارة الإسعاف يوم 17/8/2016، واليوم أنا أفضل بكتير. أنا صورت هذا الفيديو عشان أسأل عيلتي شو اسم أمي. إذا ممكن أي شخص يساعدني أنا بقدره كتير. من فضلكم أروني شخص أحضنه زي أبويا محمد الخير، أبو علي، أخواتي رؤى وتقي وعبد الله. أنا لسه ما بعرف اسم أمي، رجاء ساعدوني في معرفته. أحب كل من يهتم به وما زال يريد أن يعرف كيف هي عائلتي في حلب. لن أنسى أبدا لطفكم. مع السلامة.
I'm going to sing a song about a square, and I want you to look all around your room for one. But remember, a square has 4 straight sides, and each side is just as long as the other, and it has 4 corners that are the same size. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a square out there. Can you guess the square? Do find it. You must be aware of the shape of a square if you really want to find it. So look with care for the shape of a square.
You can come and play now. You can come and play now. Come into the door. عمران دقنيش.
قديش عمرك؟
4 سنين.
you.